Who was the best doctor you ever had and why? The man who single-handedly saved my husband's life. On January 2013 we went to the emergency room, worried because my husband had been complaining of having severe pain in his arm. He had been ill all of that week. We had even been to the hospital a few days earlier, because he had a minor sprain in his ankle that after a couple of days all of a sudden got swollen and prevented him from walking, all while feeling sick and feverish. "It is just the flu and a sprained ankle," the doctor said, and sent him on his merry way. So there we were, at the 3 days after her diagnosis. And we went there because my husband complained that his arm, which he had hurt while using his crutches 2 days before, hurt terribly. I was puzzled since he was not even bruised, but his arm was very swollen. After his doctor blatantly ignored his pleas of advice via Kaiser's message system and advice nurse lines, we got to the convinced that we were going to spend hours in there just to get some Tylenol. I don't believe in God, but I must thank my lucky stars that the chief of pneumology happened to be in the lobby right after the nurse had measured my husband's blood pressure. And he immediately perked up when he saw the numbers, 106/63 of blood pressure, and 135 ppm. "Why are you here?" he asked. I told him that my husband had been complaining of pain in his arm, and that he had been sick all week. "Why is he so red?" And then I noticed that my husband looked almost sunburnt. I thought that his skin was just flushed from the fever, but that redness ended up pretty much around his chest. It was actually a rash. "Look," he said, "right now it seems like he does not need to be here, but I suspect he has sepsis. We will admit him and give him antibiotics and fluids immediately." He then left, and I heard the speakers calling for a sepsis alert, and a team of almost a dozen doctors and nurses took over. With that decision, he saved my husband's life. You see, at that point, my husband was in full septic shock. It only speaks of my husband's amazing physical condition that he was fully conscious and coherent at a point where he was just 1 or 2 hours away from dying. By the time we arrived at the hospital, his mortality rate was hovering at around 95. And the pain in his arm? Non-traumatic compartment syndrome, an incredibly painful condition often seen in severe car crashes, but it can also happen when infections seep in from other parts of the body. This is a limb-threatening condition that can be lethal on its own. About 2 years later, I saw the doctor again at a sleep apnea class. At that point, we were in the midst of malpractice litigation against the hospital due to repeated misdiagnosis, a trial where this doctor had been called as a witness, which is never a pleasant experience. But after the class I stayed behind and I told him, "I know that you likely don't remember me, but I certainly remember you. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for saving my husband's life. Thanks to your prompt diagnosis, my husband is here with us today. He owes you his life." With a hug, I finally was able to express my gratitude to the man who saved my better half.